These thoughts up in my head. Things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here. I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm your host, Ed, and as always, journey with me as we pursue greatness in a world full of chaos. In my son's room, what you can't see is the toys and the clothes and all that, but that doesn't matter because we still giving you the message, and that's the important piece. So shout out to everybody that's out here supporting, whether that is through Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, messages or anything like that. Shout out to my pops. He texted me earlier today and just said that, he's listening, he's supporting, and that there's people out here who are that he knows that are listening to it. So I definitely appreciate that. So make sure you share it with people. If it's blessing you, it could definitely bless others. So I just want to make sure that the message, it's not me, right? Like, it's not me that's giving it to you. It's all based on God's word and how we can utilize the promises that he has for us to be able to navigate this world full of chaos. So that's what we're going to do. That's what I'm going to stay focused on. As always, if you would like to support the podcast, you can find that wherever podcasts are streaming and available. Main places will be Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. I'm always on YouTube, so my videos are posted every Thursday. The podcast post every Thursday. And then, as always, like, I'm trying to provide clips. So if you want the short clips or the short version, or you just are bigger on social media, then you can always visit me over on Instagram at OverthinkingThoughtsPod, or you can also do that over on TikTok at OverthinkingThoughtsPod. Appreciate everybody there. Shout out to the TikTok community. They seem to be rocking with the videos and commenting, so I appreciate what we're doing. And so with that being said, we're going to jump into episode 35, which is called Give Thanks. I think we sometimes lose focus on what happens in our lives in the sense of we're so busy. Like, I could tell you last weekend, and to kind of backtrack that, still down to one car. Still working on that, but I had to make sure I dropped everybody off in the morning. I got to work. As I was leaving work, the plan was to pick up everybody, both boys and my wife, get home, change, get my older son ready, go to this basketball game that we had that night. So usually get home like around 5, right? There was a major accident on the road of which I was going, and that probably put me back at least 45 minutes to an hour. So by the time I got everybody and got home, it was around 6:10, something like that. We were supposed to leave around probably 6:15, 6:20. We didn't really get out till about 6:30, but as fate, or actually time was on our side in this case, because when we got there, the game that was before us actually was running way behind. So in essence, although I felt like I had to rush to get there, I still had enough time to make it work. And it made me think just about these times that we have where we're running around so busy. The one thing that I think I lost in that fact was I should have been more thankful for the fact that it wasn't me involved in the accident. I should also be thankful for the fact that I was able to provide for both my kids and my wife and be able to get them from point A to point B and make sure everybody was safe. And so as I was thinking about doing this podcast, it made me think about one video I saw on TikTok where, and it's a pretty sad story, but there was a video that was going around, and I can't remember the woman's name on TikTok, but she's a widow. And she showed the video of when her and her husband were in the hospital, and the doctor delivered the news to them that he only had about 8 months to live. which in perspective is crazy because 8 months, although it seems like if you were to think about where you are now and in 8 months from now where you would be, it seems like a long time. But it definitely changes when you're thinking about you have 8 months until you're not here anymore. Now, he was fortunate to hear this news, and the reactions, I think, were something that made me really pay attention to this, just the thought of giving thanks in all circumstances and situations, because it was a tough blow. Obviously, wife is sad because now she's trying to prepare on, like, how do I tell my kids and prepare life without the person I thought I would be with for the rest of my life. And he said something that I thought was really, really powerful. I mean, obviously he was choked up and he was staying strong for his people, but the biggest thing that he said that I thought was really interesting was he said, you know, I know God's in control, and if it's his plan, it's his plan. And I really should have given thanks for more things. That's the one thing I'm regretting right now. But with the time I have, I'm gonna give thanks for everything. And it made me think about, like, how we can take stuff for granted, or if situations aren't working the way we want them to, we definitely don't give thanks. Like, we got car troubles. Why would you be thankful for that? If you lost a loved one, that doesn't seem like the more logical thing to be thankful for. But within every circumstance, within every obstacle or adversity that you face, the one thing to remember is that God will always be in the presence of that. And we should be thankful because in those moments where we feel defeated or alone, there is someone there that is going to find a way to provide for us to get through whatever it is that we're facing. And so when I think about that, I was looking up verses on giving thanks, and the one that popped up was First Thessalonians 5, verse 18, which states, "Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you." So, as Christians, we know that God is the ruler of our life and that he will provide for us day in and day out. He shows up for us. He is protecting us from things that we see and don't see. He has us in situations that, although they may seem challenging or seem difficult, all things will work together for our good. We know that although weapons form, they won't prosper. So it's good to know that we have someone there for us. And just the ultimate sacrifice of thinking that someone would give their life up knowing that my life will be a mess, and that there's a 50-50 chance that although I hear the promises, I may not actually accept them, and yet he still says I'm doing this. I think that, like, when you really put it into perspective, that is definitely something to be thankful for. But when you think about all your situations, we definitely give thanks when it's good, when we win something, if we get money, we get a job promotion, we definitely thankful. I can remember there was a time when I was let go of a job that I actually was very thankful for it. And I know that sounds kind of like weird, but I was happy in the sense that I didn't have to do it anymore because of the stress that came with it. So to be thankful for the opportunity to be able to breathe, think clearly, and move forward, like, that was the thing to be thankful for. And that's just one example, but we all have our things that we go through. Yet in the same breath, the spirit of thankfulness should always be within us. And so when you break down what this verse says, and obviously, I use BibleRef.com to look at these verses. First Thessalonians 5:18, the breakdown says, regardless how difficult our circumstances may be, we can find reasons to thank God. We can be thankful that all things work together for our good if we belong to him. We can be thankful that God's grace is sufficient to sustain us in every circumstance. We can be thankful that nothing can separate us from God's love. We can be thankful that God even supports us spiritually when trials produce difficulty in our prayer life. Rough circumstances also provide the genuineness of our faith. A car wreck may not find us giving thanks for a twisted fender and smashed radiator, but we can give thanks that we have insurance and a God who is always present with us. We may not thank God for an illness, but we can be thankful for medicines and doctors. Persecution is not something we would be thankful for, but we can be thankful that God can use that hardship for our eternal benefit. So when you talk about being thankful, Going back to my situation of trying to get to my kids, as I'm sitting on the expressway waiting to get home, it's clear, like, obviously, there must have been some type of accident. Now, I'm far away from it, so I really couldn't see what was going on, but I see, tow truck goes by, and I'm like, all right, well, clearly there's an accident. Then I see another one 2 minutes later. And then 5 minutes later, two more come up. And now I'm thinking, oh wow, this must be major. So now as we creep along and I get to where I need to go, I have to go past the accident site. It was a pretty bad wreck. We're looking at 5 to 6 cars, four of which were probably totaled. One had some pretty bad damage, and one was scratched, but not like terrible. I mean, back windshield busted, front car crunched up, cars are turned in the opposite direction type accidents. And the one thing that I thought about in that situation was at the end of the day, there was a point where there were no ambulances. There was no like safety precautions or anything like that. Everybody walked away from it. And so for everybody to be able to walk away from that situation, that made me more thankful because, and I was talking to my son about it. I was like, man, it was a really bad accident. That's why I was running late. He said, was everybody okay? I said, son, there were no ambulances there. So that means that everybody that was involved they walked away. Now you can't tell me that that's not God working. Now I know there's other situations that happen where sometimes things are fatal, and God has a reason for everything. And even in those moments, God is there. And yet, and still, like, we have so much to still be thankful for, even when that's happening. And so it just made me think, like, wow, like all that happened, and yet everybody was able to walk away from it. Gotta thank God for that, man. That was a major thing to see. And I think it was something I need to witness because in my mind, I'm like rushing and what's the holdup? Everything's going on, but like I don't know what's happening in front of me all the time. I don't know what I can't see. I don't know what's on the road ahead. What I do know is that God was looking forward. And because God was looking forward, God was protecting everybody, including those involved. Why would you not give thanks for that? And so it also made me think about the time where I remember my mom and I, when I was younger, I was going, we were actually driving back to college. Was going back for, I think it was it had to be my sophomore year. And, we're driving along the road and I was struggling, man. I was tired. I probably should have went to sleep the night before, but you know how that go. And so I'm like out here trying to make it. I'm exhausted. I'm sleepy, frustrated, fatigued because I'm like, man, I gotta get back, but I'm excited, but I'm also like not trying to drive the hours to get there. And so I think the silver lining was there was a point where my mom was noticing I was starting to get a little tired. So she's like, hey, why don't we just pull over? Let's get something to eat. We'll recharge. I'm like, cool. And I don't know, but mother instincts are always strong and it's always something that you should be thankful for. And we eat, we're chilling in the car. She's like, how about you let me drive? I got you. I'm like, all right, cool. So sit in the passenger side, I'm chilling and we're talking about like, what we're gonna expect the next couple of or should I say the next year, and just trying to figure out like, I was playing basketball and I was about to get deeper into my major and stuff. And then all of a sudden, as we're on this road, and it's a 2-lane road now, and this car is trying to weave in and out of traffic. We're in like a Chevy Trailblazer or something like that. And this is back like 04, 05. So like they were big, but still. This car is weaving in and out of traffic and it cuts us off. And my mom, like, is getting ready to lose control. And she knows she's about to lose control because the car kind of fishtails to the left and it fishtails to the right. And then as it's going to the right, we feel this sudden urge that the car is about to spin out. And all my mom said to me in that moment was, you ready? And I looked at her and I said, yeah. And I grabbed her arm and we spin. Now, here's what I need you to know. I've got clothes. shoes, all my college stuff, computer stuff. Like, we got a lot of stuff in the car. Not to mention the food that we got. We got cups in the drink holder. Um, we've got, bags open and stuff like that. We spin out of control. And in a way, and thank God there was like not one of those concrete barriers. It was just like the two lanes, and then there's like a big lot of grass, and then the other two lanes go in the opposite direction. So we spin into the grass, and we stop. We just take a deep breath and we look at each other and we're like, whoa. So we're shooken up for sure. We get out the car, we're looking. There's no like damage, no dents, no glass broken, no nothing. And then the other crazy thing was nothing moved in the car. Like, the drinks were perfectly still, the food was perfectly still, the bags were perfectly still. Like, there might have been like a pin that fell on the floor, but it makes me think that God like said something to my mom and was like, "Hey, maybe you should take over." And I'm thankful for that because I don't know how I would have reacted in that situation. I'm grateful that my mother was there to be able to guide me and help me through. And I think that's something that we need to pick up on is like every situation is different in life, but there's always something that we could be thankful for. We all have some dark moments. We've got deep regrets. We've made mistakes. We felt like we are, just not the greatest people. And yet every day you wake up, God is blessing you. God is giving you an opportunities. God's allowing you to continue writing your story. And you might not like the chapter you went through, but it doesn't mean that's the end of the story. It just means that you have a new page and then you can create what you need to create with the ultimate author known as God himself. I don't know. Just makes me feel good. Like, thinking about that was wild though, because I was like, wow, like that could have been way different. It could have went a completely different route, but it didn't. And I'm grateful for that because without it, like, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be a father. I obviously wouldn't be married. I wouldn't be able to have this podcast. And yet God was seeing all of this before I even thought about it or saw it. That's something to definitely be thankful for. And speaking of which, I thought about something. If you woke up tomorrow with all the things that you have given thanks for, what would that look like? Like, if God just woke you up and said, I'm gonna only provide you with the things that you're thankful for. How thankful are you? What is in front of you that you would have just based on your spirit of being thankful that God gave it to you? It's a deep question to think about. How many times do we go through life and just take things for granted? How many times do we get up, get in our car, get to work, get back, raise the kids, go to bed, wake up, do it all over again, and we just take that routine for granted? I Part of my anxiety is the fear of something happening to where I can no longer provide for my wife and kids. I think about that daily, and that was something I had to bring up when I was talking to my therapist about it. Um, and one of the things that she kind of comforted me with was just saying, like, you can only do the best that you can with what you have. If you keep walking around wondering what if, it's kind of like hearing the theme music to like the final boss, and then the boss just never shows up. And you're like waiting, 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 when you could just be experiencing life. And that goes back to when I was listening to his sermon that Pastor Vernon was doing from the Word Church in Cleveland. And he said, don't worry about dying, worry about living. You know, like, not everybody gets a chance to see the day that we have. Not everybody has the opportunities that you have. There's going to be doors that open for you that are only meant for you, that will allow you to pursue all the great things that you've prayed for, or all the things that have been meant for you. But if you don't take the time to stop and watch, or at least be thankful and grateful and in awe of what God has blessed you with, then like, what are you doing? Like, nothing is guaranteed to you in this life. You can have a job today, and be fired tomorrow. You could be married today, divorced tomorrow. You got money today, broke tomorrow. And you don't believe that? Go watch the series called Broke on ESPN 30 for 30 and watch how some of these NBA players tell you they have millions of dollars and now they living regularly. You understand what I'm saying? Ain't nothing promised. So what God gives you, you have to truly be thankful for, and you got to use it to the best of your ability. Don't take things for granted anymore. I think we have been super spoiled in that aspect of it just looks like everything comes easy and it's not. I get the privilege to be able to work with students who are getting ready to go to the collegiate level. And one thing I always tell them is when they reach that moment of graduation is to just enjoy every moment of it. You're going to hear your name. You're going to walk across the stage. Like everybody knows that part. But the moments that really matter are those moments where you get to sit and laugh with your friends one more time. You get to, just reminisce on memories. You're sitting there thinking about all your accomplishments and every goal that you've reached. Every day where you didn't want to go in, but you went in anyway. And now you're getting ready to graduate. You got scholarships, you got college acceptances. There's a new path that's getting ready to be laid in front of you. Like those are the things you should be grateful for. And to tell a student that and to see their faces light up when they realize like, oh wow, I never thought about it like that. I really do have a lot to be grateful for. And then to know that they get to just enjoy that day. They're going to remember those memories way more than they're going to remember the process of the ceremony. Like I'm so grateful that I took the time out when me and my wife got married. I remember telling myself before I even walked into the sanctuary, as I was walking in, I had my headphones in. I felt like I don't know why I'm about to tell y'all this, but it was funny. I remember like just getting ready, and then my brother came in and scooped me up, and we get dropped off at the sanctuary, and I'm like, all right, cool. So I put my headphones in. I'm listening to Nipsey Hussle, Victory Lap. And as I'm walking in, I don't know why I felt like it was like NBA pregame. That was just my moment. But I told myself, like, I'm not going to necessarily wonder about, okay, we need to do this, and then we have to be here, and then we have to do this spot, and then we have to do that spot, and all these other things. Nah, I'm not going to do all that. What I am going to do, though, is just enjoy the moment. And it was by far one of the greatest days of my life. To share those moments with my wife, to share the moment with my son, to share the moment with all my groomsmen, the bridesmaids, and just the people and the guests and everybody that was there. It was one of the most amazing experiences that I had. And the best moment I remember from the ceremony. Now, there's a lot that I remember from the wedding, but for podcast purposes, let me tell you about this moment. I was walking back up to the table. There was bottle of champagne I wanted to get. So I walk up there and grab a bottle. And before I was getting ready to walk down the steps, I just stopped and I was like, I should turn around and look. And I turn around and look, and everybody's up. There was at this particular point in time, nobody was sitting down at the table. I got my people from church. They was on one side having a good time. I had my people I work with. I had my assistant coaches. Everybody who had ever been a part of my life at that moment that was there was having an amazing time. And I just smiled and I was like, I'm going to remember this. And then like right after that, I can't remember who called me for something because, weddings, you got to go talk to everybody and do all these different things. Like I had to like snap out of it and go and be, oh yeah, hey, yeah, thanks. Congratulations. Take pictures, hug people, but that moment, super awesome, man. Loved it. I loved it. I love every moment of that. And I'm so thankful I took that approach. I think we should take the time throughout the day to just appreciate the memories and the small moments we get. Even just walking outside and seeing the sky and listening to the birds chirp or waving at a neighbor or just taking that time to take a deep breath and realize that as you're breathing, you are alive in this moment. That's something to truly be thankful for. And another thing to think about, I read my devotion this morning and then I saw this verse and I was like, I feel like I have to share it. Romans 5:1 says, therefore, since we have been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ. We have peace. And the breakdown from Bible Ref, there was a lot, but this was the part that I want you to get. It says, in Christ, God has made a permanent peace with us. And since he is the one who made it, it is a peace that can never be lost. Even when you feel lost, God isn't lost. God is with you. God has peace for you. And all you have to do is accept it. And I know that sounds simple, but we can make it complicated because as humans, when we see things as woe as us and we get into that spot and, we're, we're like Tom Dubois on the Boondocks. Making the Usher Let It Burn video in our mind, right? Like having that sad moment. We ain't got to do all that, man. We could turn to God and say, God, I feel lonely, man. And you go outside and you might just be standing there by yourself and somebody you never seen before just waves at you. Or you like I said, you hear the birds chirp, or you just see something that makes you forever grateful. Like those are the moments that we should be thankful for. And so, if I could encourage you to do one thing today, it would just to be take some time to reflect and just think about all the things that God has blessed you with and all the ways that you can be thankful. And it doesn't have to be these like major moments. It could just be, I woke up this morning and I was in pain last night, but I didn't have any pain this morning. Or I usually feel anxious around this time of the day. I didn't feel anxious. Or, I got up, I cut the light on. Or simply now open my eyes. All those things are things that we should definitely be thankful for. At the end of the day, there's so much that can be taken for granted. Don't take these days for granted. Don't take these moments for granted. Don't take certain opportunities for granted. I would encourage you to take God with you in every moment, in every opportunity, in every situation, and know that there is a peace, there is a love, there is a unconditional love, and there is unmerited favor over your life when you have God with you. And that is definitely something to be thankful for. Thank God for everything and all things. That might be it. Can't think of anything else that I want to say except for thank you. And I'm thankful for you all. And I appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. This is 35 episodes in. It's Overthinking Thoughts podcast. I'm grateful for, people like my brother Ivy the Great, who creates amazing merch. Thankful for people that support. And, I'm just forever grateful. The ironic part about being in this room right now, where my son's room, is that originally this was going to be my quote unquote podcast studio. God had other plans though. And I'm very thankful he did. So with that being said, I hope you have an amazing week. Go out, conquer the world, be successful, but with all things and everything, keep God with you and thank God for everything that you get. Okay. So as always, if you need anything from me, you can find me over on Spotify, the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm also on YouTube, the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. We're on Apple Podcasts as well, Google Podcasts for sure. Also on Instagram and TikTok at the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. Lots of cool things. I'm going to try to stay as consistent as possible with what I'm doing. So by all means, I appreciate y'all sharing and supporting and just showing the love that you have been showing over this course of time. I'm going to keep going. So whoever needs the messages can always come back and hear it. And I just pray that you get something out of it. That way you can see just how amazing God is and how thankful we really should be in life. All right. Go enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, I believe in you. Now go believe in yourself. It's the Overthinking Thoughts Pod. I'm Ed. We out.
These thoughts up in my head. Things I never did. I took some L's, but I'm still here. I got these thoughts up in my head. I toss and turn about some things I never said. I got regrets about some things I never did. I took some risks and took some L's, but I'm still here. And I know.